the current so-called president of the United States called Trump supporters garbage.
So we showed up as garbage.
Yeah, we're going to wear that proudly because we are Trump supporters.
And so, can you tell me how wearing the garbage bags proves that you're not garbage?
Oh.
Just as the back says.
Right.
But Biden can call us garbage. Trump calls us Americans.
Trump calls us Americans.
Right, but you're dressed as Biden defined you, not as Trump defined you.
Well,
well, I think more of we're taking it as a joke at this point.
Well, like it would make sense if you were wearing an American flag and you said Biden calls us garbage and Trump calls us Americans. You're wearing an American flag.
I'm confused.
It's time to elect a president. So some Donald Trump supporters thought that since the MAGA comedian called Puerto Rico trash and Joe Biden called them the same in response, they'd play a confusing game of dress up. It was a theme that a bunch of folks didn't really think through, or they just don't care and want to act like they're offended anyway. But nothing says MAGA like his supporters carrying around these sperm donor cups with J.D. Vance's face on the side reading "Full Family Kit." They figure there's no better way to attract more supporters than to mock Americans that have trouble conceiving than with this gross display. The main objective is to offend and clutch your pearls if anyone calls you an asshole.
Is the Confederate flag the thing to put out there if you want to bring this nation together?
The Confederate flag is a Southern heritage, and everything that's being divided and taken away from us, our Southern heritage, no, I stand against that. But it has nothing to do with racism.
But people think of it because, it represents slavery and then anti-slavery. Do you understand why people might think that?
What about people that don't understand the swastika?
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, the swastika is a sign of peace. Hitler took it in 1935 when he became chancellor. He took it and turned it into evil.
But do you want people wearing a swastika around?
I don't care if they wear a swastika around. It doesn't bother me.
It doesn't bother you?
No, because it doesn't mean what everybody thinks it means.
But could you understand if people?
But
could you understand if people didn't want to see a swastika around?
Yeah, I can understand it.
So could you understand why the Confederate flag might make people feel the same way?
No.
Let's see, the swastika was a sign of peace until Hitler took it and turned it into a Nazi symbol of hate and genocide. He understands why people may not want to see it celebrated. I just never hear the Southern heritage that's been stolen from these racists other than their desire to enslave other humans. Were black Southerners a part of this heritage back when they raised that flag over dead bodies that they hung and maimed? He knows the answer. They just enjoy the idea of letting everyone know that their identity is based in hatred.
Is it safe to say that based off of your comments, you're suggesting that these women at these abortion rallies are ugly and overweight?
Yes.
What do you say to people who think that those comments are offensive?
Be offended.
Matt Gaetz thought that back in 2022, it was fitting to make being offensive a pillar of his message that Trump took the lead on. But just like a clueless bully, they cried over Joe Biden stumbling into the same insults that they just celebrated.
Puerto Rico, where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of seen as unconscionable, and it's un-American.
And Biden's attempts at evening the score were just as useless as MAGA's original plan of being offensive for the sake of owning the libs. Now, for some reason, the thought process is that once Republicans hear Democrats call them names, it'll motivate them to the polls. So in order to create their winning scenario, they figured that they'd start the name calling, then respond with fake outrage.
Half the voters in the country garbage, President Biden. I mean, I think this shows two things. One, it's the disrespect of this administration for Americans and their concerns, whether it's the border, whether it's inflation, but it also reflects what we've seen is that that Vice President Harris was part of this cover-up of Joe Biden's capacity.
Well, speaking of that, Governor, former President Trump had this to say back in September on that point about garbage. Listen.
It's not her. It's the people that surround her. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
So, Governor, is it hypocritical to fixate on President Biden's comments, considering Donald Trump used the word garbage to describe Kamala Harris's supporters?
You know, they buy into that bull so much, they actually don't know that Donald Trump has called every one of his opponents and normal citizens that don't kiss his ass some kind of name or dismissed them as trash over and over again. They don't realize that he brags in interviews about the names that he comes up with to describe the people that he hates. But now that Doug Burgum was confronted with that dose of reality, he oddly changed his tune.
Well, I think what we're seeing here again this week, and whether the parsing of comments from the last 7 days is not what's going to determine the election. I mean, I would be thrilled to be on this show talking about the fact that North Korea is sending troops to Ukraine, that Israel's getting ready to confront Iran over their nuclear weapon. But this is American politics, and this is the season of the last week before election. There's always a lot of name calling in the last week. This has all happened before, but I think in the end of the day, the voters are going to make a decision about their own condition, and people telling them what they should be enraged about because he or she said this thing is not the same as a person's lived experience. If their lived experience is they're having trouble making their paycheck pay for their food, their gas, their clothing, their rent, or their mortgage payment, that outweighs in the end. The economy is what's going to drive voters on Tuesday, not what somebody may or may not have said. Most Americans don't have time to listen to all of the soap opera of which comments people should be concerned about.
And these have to be the least self-aware politicians in history. So suddenly, no one cares about all this name-calling when he discovers for the first time somehow that Donald Trump is a complete asshole and always has been. This is what the MAGA Republican Party thinks leadership and courage looks like. But when you worship a guy that gets away with telling an alternate version of reality to a bunch of people willing to believe him over their own eyes and ears, you end up looking like a clown.
We've had the biggest rallies in history of any country. And every rally's full. You don't have any seats that are empty. You don't have anything yet. I mean, the one we had today.
This is coming to an end. These rallies are coming to an end. We've been doing them, think of it, for like 9 years. We started a year before, and we've had tremendous success. In 2016, we did phenomenally, right? We went in, they gave us a 3% chance, and sort of like amazing, right? 3%. That means 97% for Crooked Hillary and 3% for me. And I was saying, well, I went to Iowa, and I had 48,000 people, and she had about 300 people. And then we went to another one in another state. We had 49,000 people. She had 243 people. And I kept saying, why are we going to lose? Why are we going to lose? And we didn't lose, We ended up winning. And we ended up winning the presidency, right? And that was an exciting night. Remember how it started? It started with a bunch of fake news. Look, there they are. That's a lot of fake news. That's a hell of a lot of fake news. The fakers, I call them now. I'm sort of lightening up. I'm starting to like them, too. I don't know what it would be like to get good publicity. I really don't. They treat me so bad.
And even the cameraman has had enough of watching this guy lie his ass off on a daily basis about the least important things in the world. You know, the end of this latest campaign to avoid facing the consequences of his criminal activity might even have the former president himself getting tired of telling this many lies. I mean, the energy is really low, with one final admission that he'd just like to go to bed and nap.
You got to look. If I don't win this thing after all this talk, I'm in trouble. You please go and vote. I mean, I came here. Whatever the hell time it is, who the hell knows? I'm giving you the full bore. You wouldn't let me leave in half an hour. I could have run up here, done it, start screaming, "Make America Great Again" for 5 or 6 times, and then leave to the cheers of the crowd. I would have been home sleeping right now.